The night was colder than I expected. A thin mist crawled across the ground like it had a life of its own. The streetlights flickered with a strange pulse, as if they were warning me to turn back. But I kept walking. My feet echoed on the empty road, each step sounding louder than the last. I wrapped my jacket tighter around myself. The air felt heavy, too heavy. I could hear my own breath, slow and uneven, pushing through my chest. The old bridge appeared through the fog. Its rusted beams stretched over the silent river like the ribs of some forgotten creature. I never liked this place. I always walked faster when I passed it. But that night, something made me stop. A faint sound drifted from beneath the bridge. Not a voice. Not exactly. More like a trembling whisper pressed into the air. I froze. The mist around my feet thickened until I could barely see my shoes. Another sound followed. A soft scrape. Metal against stone. I felt a sting of cold crawl up my spine. My hands started to tremble, not from the temperature, but from something else. Something I could not name. I leaned forward slightly. The river looked darker than usual. The water did not move. It just sat there, still and silent, absorbing all the light around it. The scraping sound came again. Louder this time. My heart hit my ribs with a force that almost made me lose balance. I wanted to run. Every part of me screamed to turn around. But my legs refused to move. A figure shifted under the bridge. A shadow curled into itself, then stretched slowly like it had been asleep for a very long time. The air felt colder. My breath turned thick and white. The mist swirled around me in tight circles. I opened my mouth to speak, but no sound came out. My throat tightened as if invisible hands pressed against it. The shadow moved again. This time toward the edge of the river. Something glimmered in its hand. A chain. Wet. Heavy. Dragging across the stones with that same scraping sound. My pulse quickened until I could hear it pounding in my ears. The world around me faded. The trees. The road. Even the sky. Everything dimmed except for that figure. The chain hit the stone one more time. Hard. A sharp ring filled the air, slicing the silence in half. The sound hit my chest like a blow. The figure lifted its head. Slowly, very slowly, its eyes met mine, and in that single moment, every sound vanished. The wind stopped. The river stopped. Even the mist stopped moving. All I could feel was a sudden pull deep inside my body. A pressure, a warning, a truth that I did not understand. Because whatever stood under that bridge, it knew my name, and it whispered it, clear, cold. Closer than anything should have been in that distance. I felt my knees weaken. My fingers went numb. The world tilted slightly to one side as if gravity had changed its direction. Then the figure took one step forward. Water dripped from its clothes in slow, heavy drops. The chain dragged behind it, carving a thin line into the stone. My breath stalled in my chest. My vision blurred at the edges. Every instinct inside me screamed that something terrible was about to happen. And then, the figure stepped out from the darkness, and the fog shifted with it as if the mist itself obeyed its movement. My back arched slightly, and I felt the urge to run, but my legs were stiff and locked in place. The sound of water from its soaked clothes formed small ripples on the stone. Each drop hit the bridge floor with a slow rhythm that matched the pounding in my chest. The chain behind it gave a faint metallic cry, sliding across the ground as the shadow moved toward me. I inhaled deeply, but even the air felt thick and sharp, almost difficult to swallow. The figure's posture was strange, slightly bent, as if the weight of something invisible pressed against its shoulders. It lifted its hand, long and pale, and pointed directly at me. My throat tightened. My lips trembled. I could not look away. The figure took another step, and the mist curled around its legs like a living blanket. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, not bright enough to shine, but bright enough to be seen. I felt every muscle in my body tense as if something outside myself controlled the movement. My mind screamed for escape, but my feet stood perfectly still, planted into the cold, damp ground. The air around me shifted again. A strange fragrance rose from the river, like old wood soaked in rainwater. I swallowed hard. The sound echoed louder in my ears than it should have. The figure stopped a few steps away from me. Close enough for me to see the curves of its soaked cloak. Close enough for me to see the drops of water clinging to its face. But something about that face felt wrong. Not monstrous. Not deformed. Just wrong, like it was shaped for someone else and placed on the wrong person. You heard me, the figure whispered. Its voice was soft, but the words vibrated in the air like faint thunder. I know you hear me. I tried to force a word out, but nothing came. My mouth was open, but my voice refused to obey. My heart pounded harder. The figure tilted its head. It watched me with a strange, slow curiosity, like a creature observing something unfamiliar. You came this way, it said. You do not usually stop here. Its words echoed inside my skull, not like a voice in the air, but like a sound pressed directly into my mind. I forced myself to take a small step back. My heel scraped the pavement, and the sound snapped sharply in the silence. The figure reacted. It leaned forward slightly, its cloak dragging along the stones with a soft wet friction. The movement felt more like a warning than a threat. I could feel my palms sweating despite the cold night air. The tips of my fingers tingled. The fog swirled again, rising around my knees, rolling upward in thick spirals. The figure lifted the chain in its hand. The metal links moved slowly, as if underwater. A few pieces clinked quietly against one another, producing a dull, heavy echo that pushed into the stillness. I watched as the chain shifted. Something hooked at the end of it sparkled faintly under the weak light. My body tensed again, and I drew back another step. The figure raised its head further, studying me with a deeper intensity. The chain swung slightly. The sound of metal scraping filled the space around us. I felt a wave of warmth rush through my chest, then a sudden wave of cold. My breath came out uneven. The river below us rippled for the first time that night, not from wind or movement, but like something under the surface pushed against it. You must not run, the figure said. Its voice grew slightly stronger, but still soft enough to feel like a whisper against my ear. You must listen. Another ripple crossed the river. A deep, low hum rose from beneath the bridge, a vibration that passed through the stones and into my shoes. My knees weakened again. The hum grew louder, matching the rhythm of my heartbeat. Every second felt heavier than the last. I know what is coming for you, the figure said. Its hand tightened around the chain. I know what follows you in the shadows. My breath shook. I tried to understand what it meant. The only shadows around us were the ones created by the faint streetlights and the occasional passing of the fog. But something about the figure's words felt too real, too personal, too close to something inside me that I had never spoken aloud. The figure took one more step toward me. The air around my body tightened as if held by unseen hands. The chain dragged behind it. Again, cutting a small line across the stone that glowed faintly under the mist. The river's hum deepened, vibrating through the entire bridge. I felt the pressure of it under my feet. You cannot see it yet, the figure said. But it sees you. My eyes widened. I felt a tight pull at the back of my mind. A cold ache, like something ancient moved inside the shadows behind me. I did not turn. I could not turn. I could only stare at the figure in front of me. The figure lifted its hand again. This time its fingers curled into its palm, as if gripping something invisible. The fog twisted around its arm, rising through the air and shaking slightly like disturbed smoke. You will understand soon, it whispered. And when that moment comes, you will remember this night. My pulse raced so hard that I felt it in my wrists, my throat, even the sides of my head. The air smelled sharper now. Metallic, cold, alive. The figure leaned forward, lowering its face closer to mine. Its breath brushed against my cheek, cold enough to sting. Then its voice dropped, soft enough that I almost missed the words. I came to warn you. The river surged suddenly. A wave of dark water hit the stones under the bridge. The sound echoed upward with a deep roar. The fog burst apart around us, swirling violently as if something massive had just risen from the water. My body jolted. My breath caught in my chest. The figure snapped its head toward the river. For the first time, I sensed fear in its posture. Real fear. Its grip on the chain tightened abruptly. The metal links trembled with the force of it. Then the figure looked back at me. Its voice cracked. It has found you. The moment the figure spoke those words, the river split open in a violent surge. A shadow rose from the water, tall enough to darken the entire underside of the bridge. Its shape bent and twisted as if the river had built a creature out of darkness and breath. My heart slammed against my chest. The cold air wrapped around my lungs until breathing became a fight. The figure in front of me shifted again, pulling the chain upward with both hands. The metal links glowed faintly with a soft silver light, and the glow spread across the wet stones. For the first time, I sensed strength radiating from the figure, not fear. Its body straightened. Its voice became firm. "You must move back," it said. "You must not stay within its reach." I stumbled several steps away, my legs finally breaking free from the invisible force that held them. My shoes scraped against the rough surface of the bridge, and the sound echoed sharply through the air. The shadow in the river stretched toward me, long and thin, like fingers reaching across the ground. The cold touch of it brushed against my ankle. A violent shiver tore through my body. The figure swung the chain. The light from the metal flared brightly, slicing through the fog and striking the shadow with a sharp crack. The river screamed. The sound was not human. It rattled through my bones and vibrated inside my skull. The shadow recoiled, twisting and retreating slightly into the water. The figure stepped forward, placing itself between the creature and me. Its voice rose with a strength I had not heard before. "You will not take this one." The chain glowed brighter, turning the mist around us into pale silver clouds. The river's darkness trembled under the light, resisting it, pushing against it. The ground shook beneath my feet. The bridge groaned under the sudden pressure. The figure spun the chain in a wide circle. Light erupted outward, breaking through the fog, tearing through the night, and striking the shadow again. This time the creature collapsed into the water, folding into itself like a wounded animal. The river heaved once, twice, then fell. Silent. The glow faded slowly. The fog settled. The bridge stopped shaking. Only the faint sound of flowing water remained. The figure lowered the chain with trembling hands. Its shoulders sagged with exhaustion. The light that once surrounded it dimmed until only the pale glow of the streetlights touched its outline. It turned toward me. Its expression was calmer now, but its eyes still held the weight of something ancient. "You were never meant to meet it," the figure said. "But it chose you, and once it chooses, it follows." My breath felt trapped in my throat. My mind raced with questions, but the words refused to form. All I could do was watch as the figure stepped closer. Its wet cloak brushed the stones, leaving faint trails that shimmered for a moment before disappearing. "You must remember this night," it said softly. "You must remember that danger does not always come with footsteps. Sometimes it rises quietly. Sometimes it hides in the places you ignore. Sometimes it waits in your path without warning." Its voice lowered further. "And sometimes the thing that frightens you is the only thing that stands between you and the darkness." I stared at the chain in its hand. The tool that moments ago shone like silver fire. The weapon that saved me from something I did not understand. The figure saw the fear in my eyes and shook its head gently. "You survived," it said. "You were meant to survive." The fog thickened again, swirling tightly around the figure's legs. The air shifted with a sudden change in temperature. I blinked once, twice, and the figure's outline began to fade. Its final words drifted through the fog. "I came because you called for help, even if you did not know it." My chest tightened with a strange ache. Not fear, not confusion, something softer, something like gratitude. The mist swallowed the figure completely. The chain's last glimmer vanished. The bridge returned to silence. I stood alone, my body still trembling, my breath unsteady, my mind struggling to understand what had just happened. The river flowed normally now, gentle and calm, as if the darkness within it had never existed. The street lights shone steadily. The road stretched quietly into the night. I finally gathered enough strength to walk forward. My steps were slow, shaky, and cautious, but each one felt lighter than the last. I glanced over my shoulder once more. The bridge looked empty, peaceful, almost ordinary, but I knew better. The ordinary world had changed for me. The shadows had changed. The night had changed. I had changed. I continued walking until the bridge disappeared behind a curtain of mist. Only then did I understand the truth of that night. I never expected any of it to happen. I never expected a voice to call my name. I never expected a chain of silver light. I never expected a creature rising from the river. I never expected a stranger from the fog to drag me away from the edge of something unseen. But it saved my life. And I would never forget it.